Welcome to Smash Fiction, a podcast where we pit fictional characters against one another in a battle of strength, or wits, or feminine badassery that shines with such a burning, white-hot, and rebellious fury that it utterly vaporizes whatever small shred of sanity men's rights activists had left.
Word.
And see who would win. This week, Beatrix Kiddo versus Imperator Furiosa. A woman with blonde, shoulder-length hair and wearing a tattered, sand-covered yellow jumpsuit walks unsteadily as she is pulled through a post-apocalyptic Australian outback by her wrists, chained together and tied to the back of an old, tricked-out war buggy. She glares at her captors through the orange dust kicked up in the wake of the tires before her. Covered in a white paint, the war boys hoot and holler about glory, while Beatrix memorizes each and every one of their faces, her eyes ultimately landing on a hardened-looking woman with cropped hair, grease war paint, and a metallic prosthetic arm. Smash cut! Beatrix slowly walks through the Citadel, her dirty yellow shoes stepping in fresh pools of blood flowing like red rivers from the piles of slaughtered war boys. The blonde spares Immortan Joe one last look of disdain before throwing the lower half of his face, and the mask still attached to it, onto his crimson corpse. In the chaos that had allowed her the opportunity to escape, Beatrix gleaned that her final mark, Furiosa, had gone rogue and was perhaps miles away. Smash cut! The war rig plows through sand dunes painted blue by the moonlit night, and the free wives of Immortan Joe and the Vuvolini who've taken them in grow smaller and smaller in the side view mirrors. Word spreads quickly in the wastes, and the Imperator knows the yellow-clad slayer of the Citadel comes for her next. Once all other humans are well out of sight, Furiosa parks her massive vehicle, allows herself to rest her eyes, and focuses on the sounds of wind and desert wildlife, until they are interrupted by the ominous, distant growl of a motorcycle. The chase is on. Beatrix Kiddo, with her katana, her trusty yellow and black motorbike, and her seemingly ceaseless quest for vengeance, is out for Furiosa's blood. Buckets of it. Buckets and buckets and buckets and buckets of it. Can Furiosa's skill with vehicles and post-apocalyptic drone tenacity ultimately defeat the bride in yellow? I don't know. I'm just here because I thought Liz might attempt some Australian accents. So this week, I, Kit Feisty Small Mulcairn, will be your questionably honorable judge for this match. Advocating for Beatrix is Claire Mulcairn.
My name is Claire, and I'm here to compare these characters to one another.
And Dan Mulcairn.
Woo! Woo!
Nice.
Well said.
Wow. Advocating for Furiosa is Liz Logan.
What was that, Max?
Furiosa's the fucking best, mate!
And Miles Schneiderman.
I was good, but she was great. That insight struck me far too late. I struck a badass kung fu pose. Her bullet entered through my nose. Bang, bang. She shot me down. Bang, bang. I hit the ground. Bang, bang. At least I won the lightning round. Bang, bang. Furiosa shot me down.
I will point out, I got a text earlier in the day from Miles telling me that I was not allowed to use that song for my opener.
Probably a wise precaution.
In order to determine which team goes first, I decided to use my position of power to force the advocates to fix up my old-ass car, and what I like to call Pimp Kit's ride. Liz and Miles' first thought was, what is Kit like? Animals, duh. So they tricked out half of the car with fish tanks in the seats, animal print decals on the side, and then they just threw a bunch of lizards in it.
Was that not the way to go?
I'll give it an E for effort. Dan, on the other hand, knows I prefer a dragon theme for vehicles, so he and Claire gave it a sick new green scale paint job, installed a flamethrower in the grille, and gave it DeLorean-style doors in the shape of dragon wings. Yes!
And then I stole it.
So yeah, Team Beatrix Kiddo is going first, and I know that scenario gave Dan an unfair advantage, but I didn't come here to give a fuck. So, Team Beatrix, paint the town red.
Beatrix Kiddo is left for dead after her former friends shoot her and her entire wedding party in cold blood.
Boo-hoo.
Years later, she rises back up, filled with the spirit of vengeance, and proceeds to ride her motorcycle across the world in a bloody killing spree. Am I saying that Beatrix Kiddo is actually Ghost Rider? Well, given my win record repping Ghost Rider on this podcast, I'm gonna say no, but you could be forgiven for making that mistake. She may not have the flaming skull and penchant for spikes, but she's still a force of vengeance that borders on and crosses well into the supernatural. The movie Kill Bill describes the Black Mamba snake as death incarnate, and Beatrix, whose codename was Black Mamba, could just as easily use the same title. She wakes up from her 4-year coma, and the first thing she does, before she even learns how to walk again, is kill 2 dudes. Say what you will about her, she has her priorities. When she decides someone needs to die, they die. She's so profoundly skilled at killing that she repeatedly fights her target on their terms using their preferred weapons and wins. She kills knife expert Vernita Green with a knife. She kills master swordswoman O-Ren Ishii with a katana after carving her way through almost 50 of O-Ren's bodyguards. She defeats master of sneaky underhanded tactics Elle Driver by plucking her eye out mid-fight. And of course, kills master martial artist Bill by using the single deadliest technique in martial arts. That technique, by the way, the 5-point palm exploding heart technique, was one she learned from Pai Mei, a legendary martial artist over 1,000 years old. Bill says that Pai Mei teaches the 5-point palm exploding heart technique to no one, but he teaches it to Beatrix, implying that Beatrix is the greatest student he's ever had in his long, long life. She's proven proficient with knives, with guns, and unarmed, but the weapon I really want to talk about is her sword. That katana that she uses is about as close to a magic sword as you'll find in a non-fantasy film. It was crafted by Hattori Hanzo, the master swordsmith to end all master swordsmiths. Hanzo spent a lifetime creating countless blades, each a weapon of legendary, perfect quality. And yet, the katana he crafts for Beatrix is the single greatest creation of his life. Bud refers to it as the greatest sword ever made by a man, and when Hanzo himself speaks of it, he says, quote, "I can tell you with no ego that this is my finest sword. If on your journey you encounter God, God will be cut." Anytime Beatrix uses her sword to dismember an enemy, it's always instantly successful with a single strike. No need to keep hacking, one stroke is all it takes. This includes several insane moments in the House of Blue Leaves, such as her disemboweling 3 dudes simultaneously with one swing, or that part where she cuts a dude in half lengthwise from head to groin in one swing. Speaking of the House of Blue Leaves, Beatrix does a lot of crazy stuff in Kill Bill, but that's the one fight I want to make sure to highlight. She takes out the entirety of the Yakuza gang known as the Crazy 88. There are so many of these guys, all of whom are well-armed and well-trained, and Beatrix makes them look like a joke. If you've seen this scene, you don't need me to provide you with a blow-by-blow of the increasingly over-the-top executions she performs, but suffice to say, things go straight up wuxia. Beatrix pulls off leaps that should be impossible for a human, including one where she leaps effortlessly onto a second-story balcony, and she fights for an extended period of time while balancing on a narrow railing. She kills dudes, sometimes with their own weapons, without taking a single hit herself, until the screen becomes so bloody that the MPAA has to step in and turn things black and white so that the delicate movie-going audiences of 2003 won't have to fling themselves onto their fainting couches. But not a single drop of that blood belongs to Beatrix. I don't care how much engine grease Furiosa smears on her face, she's still very grounded in terms of her abilities, whereas Beatrix is, to reuse a phrase used by Team John Wick a few months ago, a parody of competence. And I haven't even touched on Beatrix's toughness or versatility. So, before I pass things off to Claire, I would like to close with 2 #Dan lists I've provided for just such an occasion.
Oh no, not 2.
The first #Dan list: things that have tried and failed to kill Beatrix. Fists, knives, swords, furniture, pistols, poison, a crazy spiked and bladed ball at the end of a chain, a staff, throwing axes, an entire squad of elite assassins, a point-blank shotgun blast, being buried alive, a magic sword, and of course, a bullet directly to the head. The second #Dan list: things that Beatrix has killed people with. A magic sword, a non-magic sword, a butcher knife, a door, a board with some nails coming out, her fists, a throwing axe, a bamboo pole, and her own mouth. Beatrix Kiddo can't be killed, and she can't be stopped. She's like if a horror movie monster was the protagonist of an action movie, and Furiosa is just another helpless teen. She can't run, she can't hide, and she won't survive.
When Max asks Furiosa what she's looking for, she responds with redemption. And boy, howdy does she ever need some redemption. Redemption for coming up with one of the dumbest plans of anyone in the history of Mad Max. And this is a world where huffing spray paint is considered a legitimate battle tactic. So, Imperator Furiosa's whole escape plan makes no freaking sense. She is supposed to travel to Gastown to do some trading, and then she makes a hard left turn and starts traveling east. Her right-hand man asks her why they aren't going to Gastown, curious but not get suspicious, and she gets a look across her face like, oh crap, I hadn't considered this outcome! Someone in my party questioning why I'm deviating from mission parameters. She spits out a poorly thought out excuse and the dude backs off, but now he looks a little unconvinced, suspicious. The fact that she hella outranks everyone else in this mission means that for a little while, her team convinces themselves that they're on some sort of secret mission or something, but then when Joe's forces start attacking them minutes later, the jig is up very quickly. The only reason she survives this is because some sort of bullshit Deus Ex Machina climate change-induced mega sand and lightning storm appears out of nowhere and kills everyone else in her crew and destroys a good percentage of the vehicles that had been following her, miraculously leaving her and her rig intact. Also, is it too soon to make a Hurricane Sandy joke?
Yes.
Get it? Hurricane Sandy?
Yes, it is.
Wow!
Later, when she arrives at the canyon and there are vehicles pursuing her, the Rock Riders start yelling at her, saying that she was supposed to come alone. Again, she is forced to improvise to come up with an excuse, and she can't. And then the Rock Riders start attacking her. But even if she hadn't been caught by Joe and or the storm hadn't come, what was her original plan? If she was supposed to show up alone, how is she going to single-handedly kill the dozens of men escorting her before she arrived at the canyon? And the failures don't end there. She loses a fistfight to Mad Max, and her rig gets stolen. Freaking Nux, sneaks into the rig and starts choking her with a chain, and the only reason she doesn't die is because the wives all team up on him and pull him off of her. If she had been alone in the rig, as she is in this scenario, she would have been dead, and Beatrix is way better at stealth than freaking Nux, because everyone is better at everything than freaking Nux. All the actual good ideas in the movie actually come from other people. Nux comes up with the plan to pull the rig out of the swamp. Max is the one who sneaks off by himself to kill the bullet farmer and his crew. Max is also the one who proposes that they try to take the Citadel at the end, whereas Furiosa wanted to keep riding out into the endless desert, and so presumably if she had had her way, everyone would have eventually run out of supplies and died. Sure, she gets the kill on Immortan Joe at the end, but she also almost dies when she loses a fist fight against a nameless goon and gets flung off the side of Joe's car. She almost dies a lot in pretty much every action scene she's in, always getting saved at the last minute by Max or someone else in her party over and over again, and this sort of thing simply doesn't happen for someone like Beatrix, who is always alone and pretty much untouchable in every fight scene that doesn't involve another one of the world-class members of the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad, and even in those scenes, she still typically wins pretty handily. Imperator Furiosa has a lot of mistakes in her past. She served the horrible tyrant Immortan Joe for many years. She tried a poorly thought-out escape plan that only ended up working because of sheer dumb luck and because an only sort of crazy Tom Hardy was there to help her out. But by far, the biggest mistake she ever made was crossing that mysterious blonde-haired wanderer out in the wastelands. For once you cross her, there can be no redemption for you. There will be no green place. There is nothing out here but salt and sun and death. Death which sometimes rides a pale horse, and sometimes drives a pussy wagon.
Sorry, that was just such a good ending. I don't even have a thing. I don't even have a smarmy thing to say. Team Furiosa. It's imperative. I don't know where I was going with that pun, but I made it.
If we want to start talking about Imperator Furiosa, let's start with the fact that she is the only woman in Immortan Joe's fucked up bachelor party who has survived and kept her autonomy even though she should have been singled out and turned into a walking milk farm. It's obvious Immortan Joe shows no respect for anyone, so the fact that he does respect her and gave her the rank of Imperator says a lot about her power. The fact that she was able to sneak out Joe's 5 prize wives under the nose of all his little brats says a lot about her power. Look how much she kicks Max's ass even when she doesn't have her bionic arm on. Furiosa is incredibly resourceful and is able to be calm and calculating no matter the situation. The fact that she's going to be on her war rig means she basically has everything she needs. She can utilize chains, wrenches, rusty truck parts, guns, her shift knife, makeshift explosives, anything. She planned for her escape with Joe's wives, so you know she has everything except the kitchen sink. No, she probably does have the kitchen sink. Anyways, it's all stashed away on the war rig. And when she gets her hand on one of her guns, Beatrix is going to be dead. Deader than dead. Like, She won't be able to 3-inch punch herself out of this one. Let me put it to you this way. That shot that Furiosa made that blinded the bullet farmer was so ridiculously good for how bad her shooting environment was. First off, she's able to shoot accurately after running, breathing hard, and pumping adrenaline. She adjusts her scope turrets, showing she knows how far something away is to extreme accuracy. She ultimately shoots with only one hand. She's shooting at a moving target with around a 0.3-inch cartridge. She's staring at an extremely bright light through a small sight picture, which is extremely hard to look through. She's using an SKS, a gun that is not known for its inherent accuracy, and a scope that I'm pretty sure doesn't have a fucking calculator battery in it to light up her reticle.
And I am smiling and nodding at all these gun words.
Fun facts by Liz Logan. The skill set she demonstrates here would be useful in any kind of fight. Being able to estimate distances and speed while not letting the environment affect you at all? Yeah, sounds like a pretty damn good warrior to me. The fight between her and Beatrix is going to be the perfect example of don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Sure, the knife is going to be a sword, but, you know, you get the point. I mean, dear lord, Beatrix was shot with 2 12-gauge rock salt shells. Who cares if she survived that? Rock salt shells are less lethal ammunition. I mean, Dick Cheney's friend was able to survive actual potentially lethal birdshot to his butt. I guarantee you, Furiosa won't be using any less than lethal hardware, nor expecting any less than lethal hardware from her opponent.
Yeah, I think it stands to reason that in any part of the match that involves ranged combat, Furiosa has a kind of ridiculous advantage. Killing people from the next Citadel over is basically what she does. In addition to that legendary shot off Max's shoulder, she is also known for shooting down people flying through the air on motorcycles, and taking out 2 targets with 1 headshot, also while they were on motorcycles. If I was making a list of descriptors for people who are best suited to take out Furiosa, a few descriptors at the bottom of my list would be human-shaped, riding a motorcycle, wearing a bright yellow jumpsuit even though your target has the eyesight required to be a master fucking sniper, and having a verifiable tendency to get taken out by gunfire. Beatrix goes down to Bud's shotgun, to Bill's truth serum, to all those assault rifles in the wedding rehearsal massacre, and almost to a shotgun again during her pregnancy flashback. Say what you will about her, she does not handle bullets well, and bullets are something Furiosa does not waste. Imagine it like this. Beatrix is coming after Furiosa. Furiosa sees her coming because she has amazing vision. The telescope helps too. And also because this is the post-apocalyptic Australian Outback, and there aren't many places to hide, and Furiosa already knows where all those places are. One of Fury Road's most dominant recurring images is that of vehicles on the horizon seen from a long way off. Beatrix wouldn't just have to be a ninja to sneak up on her quarry in a motorcycle, she'd have to be Sue Storm. If and when Beatrix closes the distance, Furiosa will fire on her from the driver's side window, something she does many times during the movie, and if the motorcycle gets too close, Furiosa uses the massive war truck she's riding on to crush it and its rider like a doomed two-headed lizard. If Beatrix decides to play a longer game and remain at a distance, Furiosa parks the war rig and snaps her right in the medulla. After all, seeing over long distances also means sniping over long distances.
Furiosa, at the end of the day, is just a master at juggling multiple tasks. She's protecting multiple women who have no idea how to fight bloodthirsty, spray paint huffing Viking wannabes, while fighting said Viking wannabes, among other disgusting apocalyptic inhabitants. Oh, and she's driving across a wasteland at the same time. She's shown dodging bullets, fighting on extremely fast-moving cars, if you actually want to call them that, and taking incredible amounts of punishment, whether it is receiving a stab, a punch, or a friendly neck choke. Hello! God damn it, Leslie Nielsen in Scary Movie 3.
Boy, if I had a nickel for every time I uttered that phrase.
Now, Your Honor, we are not foolish enough to believe that we can just get out of melee combat against Reaver Uma Thurman by being better at shooting than she is. What I will say is that by the time melee combat does come around, Beatrix is going to have several gigantic holes in her, whereas Furiosa will be untouched. But even if this wasn't the case, I would still give Furiosa decent odds at taking Kiddo down hand-to-hand. For one thing, she's pretty ridiculously strong. With that bionic arm helping out, she supported Max's entire body weight for an unreasonable amount of time, as he was dangling upside down outside the war rig, and she held his foot from inside the cab, not even letting go after being stabbed in the back. When she and Max brawl during their first meeting, she delivers a vicious shot to his chin, which I only realized on this most recent viewing was delivered with her stump arm. She outclasses Beatrix in raw physical power, and her speed isn't too shabby either, given the number of times we see her dodge gunfire. In the end, the only advantage Beatrix has is her technique, which is unparalleled. But I think it's important to keep in mind that Beatrix and everyone she fights in the Kill Bill movies kind of exist in their own little kung fu world, where they're all playing the same game and everyone knows the rules. It's like professional wrestling, or the Guild of Calamitous Intent from the Venture Brothers. Yes, we're fighting, but we all know each other super well, and honestly, the battle is the fun part, not the winning. With 4 of the 5 people on her kill list, Beatrix at some point talks to them and agrees on a time and a place to start fighting. The only person who breaks these rules is Bud, and incidentally, Bud is the only one who defeats her. And if Vernita weren't such a terrible shot with a secret cereal box gun, we could have added her to the list as well. Seriously, she just straight up misses. It goes like a foot to the left.
To the right.
Beatrix is stepping outside her kung fu movie comfort zone, and she is not prepared for someone who will attack her without reading their dissertation out loud first. Finally, let's not forget about mental toughness. I know. Can't be killed, climbed out of grave, wiggle your big toe, etc., etc. Look, I would never claim that Beatrix hasn't been through some horrible, horrible shit. But in the Mad Max version of Australia, going through horrible shit is a way of life. All the pain, suffering, abuse, loss, agony, and heartbreak that sends Beatrix on an MPAA-defying killing spree,
Wow.
I know, what are you gonna do? Where Furiosa comes from, that's called Saturday. She's been doing it her entire life, and Beatrix has never fought anyone with that kind of iron in their veins. Furiosa is a survivor. Beatrix just survived a thing, and she's not going to survive this one.
I still have a lot of lizards in my car. I need to do something about this. It is now time for post-apocalyptic rebooties. But instead of sepia, this part's going to be filmed in black and white so we can keep our rating at an R.
Is everyone going to reference that?
It's just the best.
Apparently.
It's just the best.
Yeah.
You didn't think it would be that easy, did you?
You know what? For a second there, yeah, I kind of did.
See, that's by far the worst line in either Kill Bill movie, and I thought we could avoid quoting it, but...
Team Beatrix, strike like Black Mambas.
Yeah, so I guess the first one I'll go with is the idea that, like, Beatrix sort of fights honorably and, Furiosa fights dirty. I think that, one, Beatrix sort of knows whether or not somebody's going to fight dirty or fight honorably, and she'll fight sort of honorably if she thinks they're going to play the same way. Like, she calls out Ren out in the open, and she kind of just like rings the doorbell to Vernita, but she actually tries to sneak up on Bud because she knows he's not going to fight fair, and he doesn't, and so she, calls it correctly.
And then she gets shot in the chest.
Yeah, and then she totally fails.
Right, that one time she did, but it was a sign that she was going about things the right way. But basically, you're saying that she doesn't know how to prepare for somebody who's crazy. Like, I think Furiosa's probably never fought anyone who's had any actual sort of combat training.
I wasn't exactly saying she's going to fight honorably, whereas Furiosa is going to fight dirty, and the clash of styles lies in those particular verbs. What I'm saying is that she exists in a world where there are certain rules for fighting. Like, take the Ren fight, okay? So, like, Ren has all these goons with her and sends the first wave, sends the second wave, or I guess first she sends Go-Go. Then she sends, like, all her dudes. And then, like, instead of doing anything trying to, like, I don't know, come at Beatrix from behind while she's busy, she wanders out into the garden.
That's what I'm saying. She knows that that's how Ren is. But, like, if she's fighting somebody who works differently, she's not going to. The Deadly Viper Assassination Squad exists in a world where most people use guns. We see, like, that Ren in the flashback, she snipes a dude through a limo. When the assassin attacks her, she uses a gun. And Beatrix doesn't pull a sword out from under a bed. She pulls out a pistol. There's no reason to think that she's not just as good with a pistol as she is with a gun, except for the fact that in this movie, like, it happens to be about sword fighting more, so we don't get to see that as much. But, like, when the other members show up at the wedding, they have assault rifles. So, like, she has just as much training in that as anyone.
We don't have any evidence to say that. I think it could probably be implied. I mean, she says, I'm Annie fucking Oakley.
It's speculative, but it's way more likely that she's very good with a gun than that she's not good with a gun. Even though we don't have evidence based on the fact that she's a world-class assassin.
That's fine. If you're going to accept that, I also think you have to accept it's way more likely that Furiosa is much, much better. She kills 2 guys with 1 headshot.
And I will also add, so this is the apocalypse, right? There's not a whole lot of resources. They have to trade for bullets. So she has had to learn to be super economical with her bullets, meaning she has had to practice her accuracy because she doesn't have a lot of resources. Whereas in Kill Bill universe, modern day, There's tons of shit. You said assault rifles. You can blow through a bunch of people and be super inaccurate and still.
Yeah, means she's also spent a lot more time at a training range than Furiosa has, who has not had as many chances to just shoot practice targets.
Furiosa's life is a training range.
See, yeah, I disagree because she's had to actually confront people. Shooting at a target range isn't anything like having to actually survive the wasteland and shoot at people.
You guys were talking about how Beatrix gets taken out by Bud with a shotgun. This wasn't because he had a shotgun, it was because he had a unique degree of knowledge beforehand. I realize that Bud in the Kill Bill movies is basically the sad Paul Giamatti, but
I totally disagree, personally.
Well, despite that, he's an elite and experienced assassin who was part of the same squad as Beatrix. He knew she was coming. He probably knew exactly how and where she would be entering his trailer, particularly because there's only one entrance into that trailer. And the only way he's able to hit her is when he has a shotgun loaded and pointed at the door and fires the second it opens. Any larger margin of error than that, and she would have gotten past him and killed him.
Okay, first of all, how stupid do you have to be to infiltrate a world-class assassin's trailer by going through the fucking front door? She could have gone through one of the windows. She could have bought a frickin' a laser cutter and cut through the ceiling and thrown a flashbang in. I mean, rock salt! Yeah, she got taken out by rock salt!
One fucking hit!
I realize that it may sound as though the fact that Beatrix always goes straight for her target is a tactical weak point. But the thing to then realize after that is that she still kills them. She is so profoundly skilled at killing people that she can go about it the most direct and obvious
it's the John
way,
Wick school.
even when they have firearms.
Except she doesn't kill Bud, Dan. Bud buries her alive.
Yeah, I disagree. There's not going to be a huge, long amount of time. Furiosa's not going to toy. All of her opponents, they know her. They don't respect her. They toy with her. There isn't going to be that happening with Furiosa.
And also, there's 5 different times during the final showdown with Bill where he could have shot her and chose not to.
You were putting a lot in that one shot that she makes where she shoots the spotlight. The bullet farmer was not using any fucking stealth. He was using reverse stealth. He was driving straight towards her, blaring a spotlight and firing guns and yelling. And she managed to shoot the only thing she could see, which was an enormous spotlight that was not moving side to side laterally. It was coming straight toward her. It was just slowly getting bigger. So that's not like it's a moving target in the way that you're saying if it's driving straight towards you and it's an enormous spotlight.
If you've never shot through a scope when there's an enormous spotlight shining through, you can barely see it.
I would think that's only if the light is coming directly into the scope, and that's a very small angle to hit. If the light is pointed not directly into the scope, it's basically just a giant target, especially since it happened at night.
It's not a giant target. It's a ridiculously difficult shot to make. And if you're going to come at us with Furiosa isn't that good at shooting, then I don't know what the strategy is here. Because again, there's motorcycle dudes jumping over the war rig that she's just mowing down in midair. And not to bring it up again, but 2 dudes, 1 shot.
We don't get to see Beatrix go against people with guns all that often, but some of the times she shows that she's able to dodge out of fire just as well as Furiosa can. When the assassin shows up, not just the first shot, which just misses her, but the second one, when she shoots at her, she dives out of the way and goes behind the couch. So she has just as crazy of reflexes and is able to dodge shots just as well. And, if she misses with 1 shot, for instance, when Vernita misses with 1 shot, Beatrix, she punts a coffee cup at her as a little bit of suppressive fire type thing to distract her, and then it's a knife to the chest. Bud happens to hit her with the first shot, but if Furiosa doesn't hit her with that first shot, then, she has seconds left before she's dead.
I hope she has that coffee cup then.
I disagree with having seconds left before she's dead if she doesn't hit the first shot, but I think she will hit the first shot. As I said in my opening, I believe she does have more than a chance in melee.
All right. That was already getting pretty feisty. I think you're really embodying your character.
We're just getting started.
Yeesh. Team Furiosa. Send them to Valhalla.
So you bring up this whole thing about, Nux, of all people, Nux. First of all, during that time, Furiosa was, dealing with so many different things. Protecting the women, making sure the war rig had, enough gas, making sure they were going fast enough, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, guess what? None of that shit is in this situation. It's just her and her, I really wanted to say pussy wagon, but it's just her and her war rig, okay? She is going to see Beatrix on the horizon. She is going to be prepared. She is going to be focused. She knows everything she has to do to take out a threat. And you know what? Who cares if she keeps driving? You know, you brought up her planning or whatever. That doesn't even make any difference in this situation.
Seeing her on the horizon, first of all, that only works if Beatrix approaches by day, which actually, most of the time when she goes after her targets, we see that it's at night. And that's not going to help Furiosa to spot her if Beatrix isn't using a giant freaking spotlight. Secondly, though, you guys were making a joke about her yellow outfit not being great camouflage. It's not great camouflage unless, say, you're in a desert surrounded by a bunch of yellow sand.
With all that bright yellow that exists in
really
nature.
Help you to blend in.
There's a yellow filter on Mad Max pretty much all the time, so...
Has everyone forgotten about sound? A motorcycle is really fucking loud.
Does she have echolocation? Can she shoot her purely based on sound?
There is no sound in a wasteland. What sound is going to be produced?
Yeah, how's she going to be able to see her? Like, she'll know what direction she's coming from. And also, that does provide Beatrix with a large opportunity to plant a trap, like if she leaves her motorcycle running behind a dune and then sneaks up from her from another side.
You can tell when a motorcycle is idling and when it's traveling. And especially someone like Furiosa, whose whole life revolves around guns and vehicles, she'll know that.
I still think that we have the range pretty much on lock, but, you know, like I said before, even if we get into melee, I'm not sure I'm too worried about someone who got her ass kicked that badly by a 17-year-old.
Got her ass kicked by what 17-year-old?
The Japanese schoolgirl?
The one that she killed?
Because there happened to be a broken chair leg lying nearby. That was a really good piece of luck right there, because I don't know if you recall that scene, but Gogo was beating the fuck out of her. Dan made a big deal in his argument about how she hadn't been touched in the House of Blue Leaves. She was damn touched.
Dude, the blows that she takes from Gogo in that fight, like, the hits that Gogo is doing with that ball and chain of hers break furniture and pillars. And Beatrix takes those hits and does not stop.
But
like,
yet,
that's the level of... That level of force does not take her out. And Furiosa in melee can't even approach that level of damage dealing.
I mean, I don't know, bionic arm.
So Miles was touching on how physics and fighting kind of has its own bizarre thing going on in Kill Bill. Going back to the rock salt shots, when you get shot with something like that, you do not fly 20 feet backwards in the air. Shit in Kill Bill operates on a different frequency, and let me tell you, regular blows in our universe, Mad Max universe, they will fucking punish you, unlike whatever pseudo martial arts grandpa has taught anyone.
So what you're saying is everyone in Kill Bill is magic? And you're normal people. I agree.
Yeah, well, guess what? It's our universe. No magic, resiliency, perfect, natural D20 garbage is going to be happening.
Yeah.
Why not? That's what happens when she fights.
Yeah, well, guess what? This is the apocalypse. Deal with it.
I also want to point out real quick that she's not going to be able to use the 5-point palm exploding heart technique, because I did some research on what that actually was and watched that scene many times. And the second point of that attack requires that you get your opponent very high up on the left shoulder, and that part of Furiosa is protected by that massive pauldron she wears. So that's out.
Oh, what a shame. We'll have to go with our knife or our magic sword.
It's not magic, it's just really sharp. Sharp things, yay!
My pointy bullet up your ass.
I'm gonna say, you guys are probably done?
What gave you that clue?
Smash cut!
Yeah. This episode has, like, the best editing ever. It's so fast-paced.
I'm enjoying this a lot. Really getting to the point.
It's like all action the whole time.
Yeah, Kit's been hanging out with Watiti, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's especially dangerous to be in a desert during the lightning round.
Oh no! The highest things around!
Hide! Oh, God.
Wait, is that true?
I don't know, man.
If it's really crazy, if it's a Mad Max lightning round, then
Yeah,
yes.
when you live in a desert, you fucking tell me.
I mean, I live in a desert and I've never been hit by lightning, so I feel like that's just
case
proof.
closed.
Yeah.
I guess to be fair, the Arizona deserts have much more, like, foliage than New Mexico deserts, which I think I would not wander out there in a thunderstorm. It's me and one yucca. That's probably gonna be me. The chase has found its way so far into the Australian outback that Furiosa hasn't been able to recognize a single landmark for miles. But maybe that's because there aren't really any more landmarks. The canyons are long behind the two women, and scorching dunes are all that seem to be before them. Until finally, an oasis? Could this be a new green place? The Imperator steers toward the fertile land surrounding a large, glistening pond, and Beatrix pursues. Both women dismount, weapons in hand, sensing that this is as good a stage as any to finish this fight.
Wait, do they talk for like forever about it first, about why they should finish it here and now? Because they have unfinished business?
They totally were, but then they get interrupted. Now, what's this? A voice booms as the ground below them shakes. Furiosa and Beatrix struggle to keep their footing and ultimately fall when the ground below them uncoils beneath their feet. Rising to at least 2 stories above them, a massive snake's head looks down at the tiny humans with its yellow, unblinking eyes. Good day. You can stop trying to shoot and slice me with your little knife there. That'll do you no good. The name's Jake Dutton. Before the world ended, some people used to call me Jake the Snake Jake. Then I ate them. You know what I miss most about the world? Lemonade. The 2 women stare up at the giant snake spirit in stunned silence and confusion.
Much like myself.
Jake continues, so how's this? I'll provide the ingredients, and you 2 little things with your hands and your thumbs are going to make lemonade stands. Oh, let's have some fun and start a little friendly competition. A lot of you things come through this oasis. It'll take more than just making the best lemonade. You're going to have to get the customers to come to your stand over theirs. Marketing, customer engagement, coupons. And I'll just eat whichever of you is the worst at turning a profit. Oh, this will be so much fun. So there you have it. Which warrior will crush the competition in the brutal, fast-paced business world of lemonade stands? Run by snake spirits. Giant Aussie snake spirits. Team Furiosa, once again, life has given you lemons, just more literally this time.
This is a commercial advertisement. Wondering how to get your engine started in the morning? Are you thinking about how to get into Valhalla? Well, come down to Furiosa's Furious Emporium and drink Chromarade! The new marketing strategy used by Furiosa's Furious Emporium, well, we're going to recruit the 5 wives and the Vuvulini pasta ladies, and we are going to put on the Wasteland's most epic sporting event. And it is going to be called Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball.
Yeah. Extreme Wasteland Volleyball.
Extreme Wasteland Volleyball.
Okay.
And, like, this is super inclusive. Like, pregnant? Sure, you can join in if you really want to. Older and not feeling great about yourself? Put on a bikini. It's great.
So we know our customers are going to be the war boys, so they're going to be all over this shit.
Yeah, we're going to sucker those fools.
We're going to pass out flyers saying, swim with the babes when they need to cool off after their game, and enjoy a nice glass of Chromarade.
Chromarade.
And it's going to come in special collector edition jugs. Available in sizes C, D, double D, and L.
I think for customer engagement, you know, we're generally going to, like, leave that up to the wives and to the Vuvulini. But Max, you know, Max is our point man in terms of just, like, vicious business strategy. Like, Mad Max is the dude out here figuring out all the best tactics for taking down the competition.
Like, actually, like, killing.
Yeah, like, we're going to murder all of you. What else do you need? You should come down here to Furiosa's Furious Emporium, drink yourself some Chromarade, and witness refreshment.
Does it come in like a little spray paint bottle that you just spray the lemonade directly into your mouth?
I assume so, yes.
That can be size A.
Are the collector's cups easy to hold with a big old snake tail?
Yes. In fact,
absolutely.
you can coil around them. Yeah, they're spherical shaped.
So it's a little squeezy bottle, so you just squeeze it.
You'll guzzling it down.
Oh, are you helping them? All right, Team Beatrix. I fully expect some dope lemon stunts.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is going to be like a teppanyaki restaurant with lemonade.
Yeah. So I was thinking that our stand name is going to be called Arlene Machiavelli's Deadly Viper Assassination Stand. And the reason is because her fake identity that she had as Arlene Machiavelli had a father who owned a bunch of silver mines in Australia. And I think she's going to keep that identity going and try to rely upon the fame and fortune of her famous silver mine owning father who doesn't actually exist in order to try to get some customers to come in.
Beatrix, as Arlene Machiavelli, actually did work retail. Like, she worked in a record store, so clearly she has a significantly larger degree of customer service experience than Furiosa does. And also, like, one thing that's kind of easy to overlook about her is that she's very charming and charismatic and likable, because within the space of a very short period of time, like just a few months, she leaves the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad, goes to West Texas where she's never been before, and is able to convince a dude to marry her before she gives birth. And we also see in that time that all of the guy's friends are super into her and are, like, very protective of her. So she's going to be a much more charming figure than Furiosa will be. Also great with kids, as we see with BB.
And with Nikita, right? Great with her.
Yeah. Well, she did her best in a bad situation.
One thing I'll say, it's going to be very easy to convert that yellow jumpsuit into a lemon costume. And she could make a list of customers who write her bad reviews and track them down later.
And then that actually leads into her other marketing thing, which is souvenir cups made from the skulls of her enemies.
Yes. And we have some taglines, give me the location of one of my enemies and get a free glass.
What a deal.
We are slashing prices.
We know that lemonade, like revenge, is best served cold.
So good, you'll dig your way out of your own grave for a glass.
We assassinate your thirst.
Oh, it's so good.
If on your journeys you meet God, God's thirst will be quenched.
Are we good?
Oh my gosh.
Haven't you done enough? You know what I have to say to all that, you guys? Mediocre!
All right. I already know who won, but I'm just going to go look at pictures of snakes wearing hats from her.
I'm going to say the actual chance of her doing that is probably north of 80%. Like, if she doesn't come back in 10 minutes, it's because she got lost down a rabbit hole of snake hats.
So this is a fun one. Do we want to talk about the thing?
Let's talk about the thing.
The discussion that we had when we were coming up with the match?
I want this on the record, because this was officially brilliant, and could it have been made to work would have been great.
Yes. So we have a lot of times where we'll talk about our matches. Sometimes like we settle on something very quickly, and sometimes we throw around a lot of ideas before we settle on what the match is actually going to be. And this is one of those times where we bounced around a lot, and we ended up on a very weird and convoluted thing that everyone but me eventually decided didn't work, but I still liked it a lot, and I want to talk about it now. We were talking about the idea that Furiosa maybe like rescued somebody and was fleeing, and Beatrix was trying to kill her, and Furiosa was trying to like protect the person from Beatrix. And Dan suggested Offred from A Handmaid's Tale, and then we realized like it's really cool because it's basically the combination of the two settings. It takes place in America, where Beatrix is from, but it's the future, which is where Furiosa is from.
The post-apocalyptic future.
Right, but we decided that it could be like, things became like all post-apocalyptic in Australia, and then they became totalitarian in America, and those aren't like incompatible, And then one of the scenarios that we settled on that I liked a lot was the idea that they both join the Mayday Resistance, and they free Offred from captivity, and then they work as like partners trying to defend her. So, like, Beatrix would be killing people with swords, and Furiosa would be shooting them. And then, like, Furiosa would be driving their escape vehicle, and Beatrix would be, like, having her back and, like, stabbing people as they're attempting to board. And then, because Handmaid's Tale is, like, an autobiography and, like, a memoir of Offred, the idea would be, like, whoever wins is the one who impresses her more and ends up as a character in the book. But, yeah, it ended up being really complicated.
It ended up being very convoluted. And, to be fair, would make a great piece of fan fiction with, like, this Kill Bill, Mad Max, Handmaid's Tale, unified universal theory. Yeah. But it was a bit much, and also just kind of missed the point of, wait, we can just replace Mad Max with Beatrix Kiddo, and then this scenario happens.
Right.
So, yeah.
It ended up being, as Miles said, this is more about Handmaid's Tale than it is about the other characters.
I love Handmaid's Tale.
I didn't mind that. I was like, Handmaid's Tale's great, let's do it. But everybody else is like, shouldn't it be about these characters?
Well, the original scenario was Furiosa was rescuing Offred, and Beatrix was tracking them down because the leaders of Gilead had, like, basically not hired, but, like, promised her information, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were saying that there was, like, an extra member of the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad that was, like, hiding in Gilead, so the leaders of Gilead were like, yeah, we'll help you find this person, but you have to track down this rogue handmaiden that got away with this lady with a crop haircut and a giant truck.
Right. And, again, that's somewhat too complicated, but I think, Claire, the main problem you had with that was that you didn't think Beatrix would ever work for them.
Fuck no. Like I basically said, I thought it was really cool. Like, she'd have the perfect motivation if she, like, just starts this new life with her daughter, and then Gilead rises to power and takes away her freedoms and takes away her daughter's freedoms. She's not going to join them. She's going to go on a second killing spree and try to kill everyone in the government there and, like, set all of the women free who are in captivity. Because, like, sort of by the end, she says the whole thing about, like, before she had the kid, she would have done crazy stuff. She says, like, I would have, like, leaped a motorcycle onto a moving train. But then once she sees the line, she realizes that protecting her daughter is the most important thing. And so, like, I kind of thought that was, like, it could be representative of her new character as that kind of, like, protective person.
Right.
So,
which I don't necessarily buy is what her character is. And I think maybe we could talk about Kill Bill for a second now, because, we've talked about Fury Road. Fury Road's great. We all love it. I don't think there's much more to say. We talked about it, I think, when we did the Immortan Joe Lord Humongous episode. Kill Bill, I was watching it again for this match. It had been a while, and I was kind of going into it hoping that I would enjoy it this time. And I think I liked it less.
Yeah. You're probably going to say a bunch of stuff that's bad about it, and I'm probably going to agree with you. But at the same time, I cannot recall seeing a more continuously inventive movie and, like, what the fuck all the time. You know what I mean? Like, It's really cool. Like, there is no shot in that movie that is shot the way that it has been shot in another movie.
My biggest problem with it, and I have more than one problem with it, my biggest problem with it is Beatrix. It boggles my mind because Tarantino is so good at taking these total scumbag characters and making them sympathetic. And here we have a character who, by all rights, should be sympathetic, and I just don't care. I just want her to die.
I care about her. I mean, the only reason you probably don't get that is because, unlike in most of his movies, she doesn't spend a lot of time hanging out in a cafe with her buddy just chit-chatting, and so you don't get to, like, see her being all light and jokey.
Well, it's not even that. Like, I found myself really sympathizing with Bill in that last scene.
Why?
Like, because when he says, I am a murdering bastard, I have always been a murdering bastard, and there are consequences to breaking the heart of a murdering bastard. I'm going, yep.
So,
yes, there are.
Okay, murder her. Don't kill fucking 8 other innocent people.
That's not why she went on the rampage. She went on the rampage because he came after her.
He went on the rampage because he killed her daughter.
That too. But her and her kid. I'm not justifying his actions. I'm just saying, like, what did she think was going to happen?
This is the worst victim blaming I have ever heard of in my entire goddamn life.
No.
Little bit.
I'm just saying, like, what did she think was going to happen?
She could live a happy life. Or maybe Bill would kill her.
After bailing on an assassination squad that she was a part of. That she was sleeping with and having the baby of the leader. I'm not saying Bill are good people, I just don't think she is either.
Oh, she's definitely not. And one of the things that I think is interesting is that, to some extent, Miles, I don't really agree with you that Tarantino makes all of his scumbag characters sympathetic, because to a large extent, I don't really like any of his characters on a level where, like, I think they're good people. But it's fine. Like, I don't have to relate to my protagonists to enjoy watching what they do. Like, when I watch a Tarantino movie, I'm in it for, like, the dialogue and the craftsmanship and the pacing, which, admittedly, depending on the movie, can be a little bit of this.
And I think that he does a good job, too, of writing characters that have fucked up moral philosophies, explaining their moral philosophies, and then you feel like, yeah, that's kind of how a fucked up person probably would think about this. You know, the whole thing about, like, in Reservoir Dogs, where this thing about, like, did you kill anyone? A few cops. Any real people? No, just cops. It explores the morality of immoral people, and I like that. You know what I mean? And
right, but the other thing about Kill Bill is that she goes on a fucking killing spree and suffers no repercussions for it.
She kills bad people.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah.
She goes on a killing spree and suffers no repercussions for it. What I wanted at the end of that movie, and what would have redeemed it for me, is for the little girl from the first scene to show up in a scene at the end, all grown up, and fucking kill her. That really told me that Tarantino understands that you can't just, like, completely endorse bloodthirsty mass fucking murder.
I can agree with you that might be a better ending, but I don't necessarily think that he's endorsing it. I think you're reading that into it.
No consequences. Nothing happens. She drives away happy with her daughter.
Okay, so this was pretty hard.
Fury Road is better! Woo!
That's for sure.
Well, that's not the hard part, obviously. I mean, I think the cutest snake with the hat was the hognose with the little top hat, because they also gave him like a teeny mustache to go with
Oh,
it.
damn it. All right, good game, guys. Good game. Wait.
Wait, whose side was I on?
Wait, what?
Okay, so for reals. The openers, oh boy, one team started out just so strong. I was like, oh no, how am I gonna, oh god, this is almost like one-sided. And then the rebuttals happened. Then the rebuttals came.
The rebooties?
And the rebuttals were so brutal from the other side that I think I was convinced that I think Furiosa is gonna actually take this.
Whoa.
No.
Whoa.
Dude, I was not expecting that after openers, but holy shit. Good job,
Neither
you
was
guys.
I. Good, well, right on. Yay.
High five.
Good job, you guys.
Good job,
Yeah.
you guys. Good lord.
Yeah, that was scary.
Oh, man.
When Kit said, like, I already know who's gonna win, I'm gonna go look at pictures of mistakes with hats, I was like, well,
we're fucked.
we're done.
No, that wasn't me trying to like send you the signal.
She just likes looking at steaks.
I just like it. Time, boom, the snake. So over to Twitter. First of all, thank you to Press Down to Orb for tweeting about us in the same breath as Sailor Business and System Mastery.
Yeah.
Oh, we are not worthy, but thank you.
I think she mentioned one or two other podcasts along with
Yes.
those two as well.
Yes, I do not know of the other podcasts, but I'm intrigued. Also, thank you to Turkey Den Reynolds, Rafael Medina, Matthias Tatimas, Florian, Sabina Mosher, Duffy, Tyler Fullman, Mike Booch, Cosplay Fiend, Jeffrey Ketchum, and Crinch. Over to Tumblr, thank you to Geek Haven, Jeep Rhyme, Creepy David Bowie.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Sid Rabbit Vlog and Changing Shades. And then on Facebook, thank you to Jeffrey Ketchum and Robert Ramsey. As always, guys, thank you so much.
And thanks also to Jake Dutton, our featured patron this month. Jake donated at $1 or more every month, and as a result, has been turned into an Australian snake spirit, as you could be. And he, along with all of our other patrons, voted on this particular match. At the beginning of this month, we sent them a poll with 5 different matches on it. They voted that they wanted to see this one turned into an actual episode, and here it is. They also, incidentally, voted on another piece of fan fiction, which our dear Megan Bob will be putting out hopefully before the end of this month. And the pairing that the fans ended up selecting for this is...
Are we going to say it? Are we going to spoil it?
Let's say it after it's released.
Oh,
I think.
it's so good.
It's very good.
I'm excited.
We also wanted to mention something special that we're going to be doing for the month of December. Anyone who is listed on Patreon as a patron of ours as of December 10th, we'll be reaching out to you guys for your addresses, and if you would like to provide us with those, we'll be sending you a postcard signed by all of the hosts. It's our Smash Fiction quasi-holiday gift to all of you as a thank you, and that's open to all patrons of ours from $1 and up. Kit, do you want to do a question?
Oh, sure. Florian has a question. He asks, it was mentioned that Claire has developed her own RPG. Any chance she would DM a one-shot for the podcast? Or perhaps an episode where she talks about it in the process of coming up with it?
Yeah, I'd be down with that. It's a bit weird. So it's a role-playing game that involves like a deck of cards. There's a sort of visual element. It works better if everyone's in the same room. We could make it work. It's just a little difficult. I don't know if it's like a top priority right now, but I definitely would be interested in doing it. I like it a lot, and I think it would be super fun. So
it's also a little weird because most of the content that we try to produce here is centered around fictional characters. You know, we
crossover stuff.
Yeah, crossovers and such. Like, we're doing a couple of different like formats for the show, like league versus regular matches. We've also talked about doing further kind of format changes later on, which we might be talking about later. But like, kind of our show begins and ends with fictional characters to some extent. So that would be a little off-brand, but you know, like, we're slaves to the fans. So if you guys really want to hear us do this, we can, you know, see if we can find a way to make that interesting to listen to.
Let's make this an officially us asking the fans. How much would you guys be okay with us going a little off-brand and doing other geek things that weren't about pre-made fictional characters? Role-playing games that weren't League, you know, things like that. Mainly as bonus stuff.
yeah, let us know if y'all are interested.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Next week, Extraordinary League. Yay! And the week after that, Galen, Star Killer Merrick versus Revan.
Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman and production assistant Sharon Schneiderman, with logo design by Claire Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Hitman.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
And the Free Wives of Immortan Joe and the I always fuck up their name. And the Vuvolini, right?
Yeah.
Vuvolini.
The Vuvolini. I always called them Volvolini.
Nope.
I mean, I think you're supposed to always be calling them that.
That's the point, right? I thought that was the point.
That's the reference, yes.
It's like, that's not where the L is. And the Nope, see? Nope. Them ladies. Those ladies. And the Vovolini.
Nope.
The Vuvolini.
Vuvolini. It's like Fellini, but less
What
less
the fuck
fell.
is Fellini?
I don't know.
I don't know that fool.
Imagine it's like a pasta. Vuvolini.
Vovolini. Delicious Vovolini.
What shape of pasta do you think that is?
You're missing the point.
Wait a minute, I know what shape that pasta is. What am I talking about?
Also, 10 points to Gryffindor for fucking pronouncing Yakuza properly.
Well, amidst all the other Japanese I mispronounced, I figured I might as well get one.
Oh, Katsu's really hard to say.
Yakuza!
No, most people say, like, Yakuza.
Yakuza.
Yakuza. It's like, no.
Most people say Vuvolini. Bud's nickname is Sidewinder, and he wears a cowboy hat.
That's true.
True.
Yeah, you know what? This is kind of a movie.
What's
with
what's L's?
California Mountain Snake.
California Mountain
Right,
Snake.
so can you find one of those with an eye patch?
Ooh, snake with an eye patch.
That's pretty badass.
By the way, is that the worst code name of anyone ever? California Mountain
I
Snake?
love how bad it is. That's what's the best thing about it, is it's so good bad. That's a very good bad nickname for it.
You know, I wasn't thinking about it that way. I was just like, why the fuck would they pick that snake?
I think it's awesome. In my mind, it's like a Mr. Pink thing, where there were like a lot of other snake people in the squad before, and they all died. And then like
Oh, that's
all
hilarious.
of the others, can I be Cobra? No,
No.
we had a Cobra. It's like...